I have always resisted using personal pronouns. Those tags that you put at the end of your email signature or your Zoom caption that say he, him, his. It's not that I have anything against them, and I recognize that they're important, especially to show respect to transgendered people. But I personally don't feel the need to have to label myself like that. I feel like I'm comfortable with who I am, with my masculinity, so I don't have to shout my pronouns every time I see someone. And I think probably as soon as people see who I am, they probably know that I'm a cis white male. It's not that hard to figure out. I guess I get my sense of masculinity mostly from my dad. He was a typical 50s dad, World War II veteran, close cropped hair, sort of a military bearing. But he was gentle to us kids, and he was respectful to my mother. He was a traditional male of his generation, and I think he passed a lot of that on to me. For me, to be a man means to be responsible, to be a provider, to be able to endure physical discomfort and pain, to have fortitude, guts, strength, to be able to work with my hands. But it doesn't mean to be a bully or to be a tyrant or to dominate people. I just don't need to be like that. I see these days that there's a kind of toxic masculinity that is becoming popular, especially among young male. It's this sort of alpha male hypermasculinity. It's being promoted by guys like Andrew Tate and Bronze Age pervert. They're basically saying that society is feminizing men and making them weak and ineffectual. And they say some crazy things like there's hormones in the water that is making young men soft and effeminate. And they say we need more high testosterone, risk-taking men. And they say that empathy, which is a female quality, is ruining our politics. And they want to go back to some previous age when men were men. That's why you see some men in leadership positions showing off their physique and pumping out 100 push-ups in front of reporters, trying to be somehow hyper-masculine. Kind of ridiculous, really. They think that men should be dominant and women should be subordinate, that men should go to work and women should stay at home. And some young men are attracted to this view of masculinity. If they haven't been given a positive image of what it means to be a man, then they're susceptible to this. And there's a religious side to this too. There's a pastor named Doug Wilson from Idaho. He's a Christian nationalist, and he's got a lot of attention recently for his belief that a man should be the head of the household and the woman should be submissive to him. I think it's a backwards view of masculinity. Well, what happens when we take this distorted view of masculinity and put it up against Jesus in the Gospels? How does it compare? We can look at today's gospel story. It's a double story, a story within a story, a healing story within a healing story. And both stories tell us about how Jesus treats women. In the first story, a leader of the synagogue comes rushing up to Jesus and he says, "Teacher, my daughter has died, but if you will only come and lay your hand upon her, she will live." So think about what's happening here. A leader of the synagogue, a respected male figure in the community, one of the patriarchs, has a daughter, and he loves this daughter so much that when she loses consciousness and appears to die, that he is distraught. He's overcome with emotion. And in his grief and in his panic, he rushes out to find Jesus, whom he heard has the ability to heal and even raise people from the dead. He's not concerned about his image as the leader of the synagogue. He's not concerned about what people think about him as a man. He only cares about his daughter. And he begs Jesus to come and save his daughter. And Jesus sees the concern in his eyes, and he agrees to go with him. And they start off, but before they can get anywhere, a woman comes up behind Jesus in the crowd and touches his cloak, just the fringe of his cloak. And she thinks that, she has been suffering from hemorrhages for 12 years. The doctors don't seem to can't do anything to make it better. And so her life has been unmanageable. And in her desperation, she comes up quietly behind Jesus to touch the hem of his robe. And when she does, Jesus senses that something has happened, and he turns around to face her, and he says, "Daughter, your faith has made you well." And immediately she senses that she's been healed. So Jesus and the leader of the synagogue continue on. They get to the house where his daughter is, and there's a crowd of people there who are already coming to wail and mourn about her death. And he says she's not dead, but she's only sleeping, and he puts them outside. And he goes in, and he takes the little girl by the hand, and she gets up, and she's alive again, just like her father had asked. So 2 healings, a woman and a little girl. Does Jesus spurn the request of the father to heal his daughter because she's feminine? Of course not. Does he rebuke the woman for touching his robe without his permission? Of course not. He sees these 2 women as beloved children of God. He even calls the woman with the hemorrhages daughter of Abraham. And consider how this story came to be remembered in the life of the church. It just shows us how important women were to Jesus. He wasn't threatened by women. He didn't need to dominate them or show his superiority, but he treated women and girls as equal, as children of God, worthy of his care and concern. And so this story was written down and was remembered in the life of the church for a reason. And consider what kind of masculinity Jesus modeled for us. He's deeply masculine in the Gospels, I think. He's courageous, he's strong, he's brave, he's outspoken in matters of justice. He's able to confront people when need be. He's able to suffer pain, and he's able to sacrifice himself. But he's also gentle, kind, sensitive. He's not threatened by others. He's able to show caring. He's a leader. That's a far cry from the toxic masculinity that we see today. I think it's hard for young men today to find a good role model for what it means to be a man. What does it mean to be male in our society today? What does it mean to have a healthy relationship with the opposite sex? We need to give healthy role models to young men. Is there any better role model than Jesus himself? There was once a young boy who came home to his dad and said, "Dad, I was with my friends today and they were making fun of that girl with the strange hair and the funny clothes, and they called her a trans slut." And his dad said, well, what did you do? He said, I didn't know what to do. I was confused, but I thought about what you would do. And I knew you wouldn't allow that. And so I said, stop it. What if she was your own sister? Would you treat your sister like that? And they all went away. His dad said, I'm proud of you, son. You did right. You did what Jesus would do. So, be a man. Be like Jesus.